What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Who You Got With.
MELO
And RADO is a sports podcast where we talk about your favorite sports highlights, sports debates, and sports matchups. And you know it's the NBA playoffs, and we're here to talk about it. Melo, what's going on, man? What are we talking about this episode today?
Man, it's probably the most exciting time of the year.
That's for sure.
NBA playoffs, it gets intense. I'm a Celtics fan, so it's nice to have a team in the playoffs because I don't get as excited for the NFL because I don't really follow a team.
I feel you. Yep, yep.
Yeah, I just want to ring LA Rams.
Rams, my team,
Yes,
baby.
so
I love it.
hopefully, and it's funny. We talked about this a few months ago. You was like, "Yo, all we gotta do is get the Celtics to win a ring, and look at us.
That's
Both our
crazy.
teams will win a ring the first year we made our podcast."
That would be like literally insane, and obviously a good start of the year for
Yeah,
our
yeah,
podcast
yeah.
for sure. Because I was definitely happy when we won our ring with the Rams. I'm hoping the best for y'all and the
Yeah, so
Celtics
the intensity is obviously extreme.
for
The
sure.
matchups are set. The round has already started, and some of these games have just been completely intense.
Crazy. I mean, we've had some
Yes,
buzzer beaters. We've had obviously some teams that are doing amazing that people didn't think they were gonna do that great. Obviously, some
back and
underdogs come
forth.
out. Yeah. So
It's
we'll
a
definitely
lot
talk
going
about
on. So
those.
that's what we're here to talk about, man. It's NBA playoffs. We'll go through the matchups each first round, strength, weaknesses. You know what we think is gonna happen between those teams, and obviously who's gonna come out on top.
That's right. And then
Um,
at the end of the episode, we're gonna actually do a prediction for the Eastern Conference Finals,
mhm.
Western Conference Finals, and we're gonna do a finals prediction and the winner for you
Let us
guys.
know. We gonna tell y'all who we got.
Exactly.
That's
And
exactly what we do here. So let's just get into it.
exactly. Let's go over the first matchup.
Yeah. So first matchup for the first round of playoffs was Dallas versus Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas is a number 4 seed. Utah number 5. Dallas was 52-30. Utah 49-33.
Mm.
They played 4 times this year. Series was tied 2-2. And pretty much we got a story of teams with different type of seasons.
Yeah.
One started off pretty hot.
Yep.
Pretty much started off good. Jazz pretty much started off hot. They had a good record.
That's for sure. Yeah, they
And
start
then
off
fell
great.
off.
Mm-hmm.
22 and 20, 24 and 24. Pretty much in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Mavs started off pretty slow. Didn't really look too good.
They made some changes though.
Made some changes in personnel, including the trade Dinwiddie for Porzingis.
Porzingis. Yep.
And pretty much in that same span went 36-12, which is how they ended up in 4. So pretty much, it's a very competitive series. You always got that when you got 4 versus 5.
Exactly. Yeah.
But pretty much this whole series is going to rely on the health of Luka Doncic.
That's 100%
It's as
sure.
simple as that.
100% sure. And obviously we saw he was out a little bit in the
Mhm.
game, so we'll have to see how it progresses throughout the series. But I think that you're right. He's the X factor in this whole thing. I mean, they're very close. They went 2-2 in the regular
Mhm.
season. They're gonna be close in the playoffs. Doesn't matter who's in, who's out. They both have very deep benches though,
No,
which
exactly.
is good.
At this
Um,
point, Dallas did pick up some pieces to be able to basically play through a Luka injury. But at the end of the day, Dallas can't win a series without Luka.
I mean, I agree, but I mean, my man Jalen Brunson has been balling out lately,
has,
and
he
he
has.
came out of nowhere these playoffs, and I really do think that he could be a good stepping piece. Shoots good threes, he gets a little bit of assists, so I think that he could definitely be a piece for them that could help him in these playoffs. I mean, the Jazz, like Quinn Snyder, it looks like he's kind of already out of the door, and I mean, the Lakers is already talking about hiring him next. But with them, the problem with them is they can't get enough rebounds on Dallas, even though they have the bigger guys. Like they got Rudy Gobert, and he's not getting the rebounds like you would think.
That's because they keep having to step up on the screens with Luka. At this point, with the 4 games that they played, Luka's averaging 30 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists. Pretty much going 12 for 27
Right.
from 3.
Right.
In those 3 games because he only played 3. He missed 1. But pretty much they do a very, very great job of finding a way of taking Gobert out of the paint,
Mm-hmm.
out of the play, to the point where he's 3-time or 3-time defensive
Three
player of the
time.
year.
And honestly, this year he became second. Actually, I think second or third this year, which is crazy. Like we didn't even think that he was
exactly.
he was gonna be in the contention, but he came out like second or third this year. But
So yeah, with the series so even, obviously Donovan Mitchell's gonna get his, Luka's gonna get his. It really all depends on who else is gonna step up for each team.
that's for sure. I mean,
And obviously they're gonna find a way to stop Gobert and try to make him ineffective on the defensive end. And it's just gonna be a real tight series, man.
I mean, that's for sure. I mean, obviously, like I said, my man Rudy Gobert hasn't been getting as many rebounds as he should. Like even Hassan Whiteside has been kind of outplaying him a little bit in this series. I mean, I see like the Mavericks. Their shooting is amazing right now. Their 3-point shooting, especially, it doesn't look like Utah can really handle that. Mike Conley is not really playing well either. I just don't think that their defense is playing that well, especially when all year they've been harping on that defense, playing in a tough Western Conference, playing always against guards, good guards, and I don't think they're doing that against guys like Brunson and Doncic for this series. So honestly, I kind of look at this like I think that Dallas might come away and win this, especially if Lucas starts playing like himself, like he has been. 30 and 10, that's incredible. You know, he's able to get triple doubles whenever he wants. I think that Dallas is going to take this series, to be honest.
How many games?
I think it's going to be a 6-game series instead of a 7-game series. I know it might look close, but you know, if Luka's back and he's not injured anymore, I think he's going to take over the next few games, whatever they're playing, and he's going to take it.
Okay.
How about you though? What do you think about the series?
I'm gonna stick with Mavs in 7.
Okay, yeah, you got a 7. I mean,
it's gonna be a tough series for them. I think Donovan Mitchell, and Mike Conley are two, obviously all stars on the perimeter.
That's for sure.
And as long as they could try to find a way to somewhat have Gobert be effective, then yeah, they'll make it a tough competitive series. But I still think it's pretty much Mavs win. It's their series to lose, basically.
I think so too. I mean, Donovan Mitchell needs to step it up. He's been shooting poorly, under 40% this series. So he's already playing like almost 40 minutes a game. So he needs to step it up in his shooting. If he does, I do think it goes longer, 7 games. But I don't know. I think that Luka's is the one to take it over, to be honest, for me. But either way, great series so far, and great series till the end is gonna be a great series.
No, for sure. And obviously we definitely got a good 4-5 matchup over there.
Exactly.
And the West is honestly full of great matchups. Exactly. A lot of competitive series. The next one we want to talk about is going to be 2 versus 7. And that's the Memphis Grizzlies versus Minnesota Timberwolves. So that's Memphis is 56-26, had a fantastic year, second in the West. Minnesota kind of just squeezed in.
Yeah.
Actually got in with 46-36 record. Another matchup that the team split.
Yep.
2-2 are during the regular season, and pretty much most of those were close except for a blowout that Minnesota had in the beginning of the year.
Yep.
Minnesota blew Memphis.
Blew Memphis out.
Yeah. So pretty much it's gonna be 2 teams with the same type of identity, trying to fight out for who's better at doing the same type of things. Grit and grind. Physical type of defense, just try to outpace, not outpace, but they try to play at their pace pretty much.
Yeah, control the pace.
Control the pace. What both types of teams trying to do that, it really can go either way, and that's honestly what we have been seeing.
Right, that's for sure. And honestly, in this one, you got to look at the stars in this one. It's literally between Ja and Cat. Like, whoever goes off in this series is gonna be the winner of this series. Because even though it's a 2-7 matchup, I look at this as a lot closer than a lot of people do. I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves are way more talented than they've been showing all year, and they just started getting like hotter and hotter at the end of the year. I mean, obviously, Grizzlies rose up this year out of nowhere, kind of. You know, a lot of people are seeing Ja as the most improved. They got Coach Snyder's as the coach of the year, right? So, I mean, definitely a great team as well. It's just that Cat Williams didn't play good the first few games of the series, and you saw it that it was still a close series, and once he starts playing good, they can win these games. It's not like it's a 2 seed that are just blowing out the 7 seed. This one it really depends on Ja Morant. When he doesn't have a good game, this is very similar to the last one we were talking about with Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell hasn't had good shooting. Neither has Ja Morant in a few of these games.
No, for sure. But remember, this is also a reason why Jenkins is in the candidate,
right?
Or is a candidate for Coach of the Year, because even with Ja Morant not even in the lineup, they still found a way to win games.
Right. That's true.
They pretty
That's
much
true.
got
You're right.
the
Right.
third best offense and the fifth best defense.
Yeah.
They're prolific on both sides of the ball, and pretty much after a year where they fought through injuries, fought through, like I said, the top player was out for at least 17 games.
Yeah.
Almost 20, I want to say. And they found a way to win most of those games. A lot of people would have said that Jaren Jackson Jr. would have been a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year because he led the league in blocks.
Right.
But his injuries were an issue because
I think he missed over 20 games, right? Yeah. He missed over 20 games,
so that's why he wasn't there.
Yep.
And the Timberwolves, on the other hand, they finished the regular season with the sixth best offense and average with the 13th best defense. So, like you said, they have all-stars over there who can do
they got
some
guys
things.
that can score. Cat can
Exactly.
score. Anthony Edwards can score. Obviously,
Russell.
Russell, he can score too. They got guys.
Yeah, but like you said, it's all about stopping their superstars. The Grizzlies have shown that they can stop Cat, not just in this series, but in the regular season.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But the question is, can the Timberwolves stop John Morant? Like you said,
Yeah,
that's the one that's pretty much gonna go off.
You know why the Grizzlies can stop Cat real quick is because of Valanciunas, man. Valanciunas is a freaking Grizzly. Like he is like he literally is a Grizzly. Like my man is huge. He kind of like can push people around. He's very good on the block. He's good at out rebounding other players. That's why Cat didn't play very well the first few games. And I think that Valanciunas is a big key in playing the defense that Memphis could play to win this series. But if Cat can step it up against them, then it's a different series.
Oh yeah, and that's pretty much what it's gonna be. Which one's gonna step up? Like John Morant. A lot of people, I don't know if people know this, but John Morant led the league in points in the paint this year.
Yeah, he loves doing those little floaters too.
16.6 points per game.
Yeah. Beast.
The first guard to ever lead the league in points in the paint. It's always a forward or a big.
Of course, it's usually a big. Yeah,
it's usually a big.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's usually like a forward, like a Antetokounmpo, LeBron James type forward.
Right. But even them. I mean, usually it's like a Shaq type guy.
It's never been a guard. They started tracking this in 1996.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yes, 1996.
I would think the only close one that would get close to that would be Allen Iverson, but since Shaq was in the league back then, so he wouldn't have got it. But somebody like Allen Iverson was close to that, I'm sure.
And think about it. I think he's at 20. What's John Morant at?
Like 25 points a game, almost 24 points something.
Yeah.
So
27.
Okay, for the year?
Yeah, 27.4. For the year, 27.4.
Because this
16 of that is coming from the paint.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Like my man's.
But he needs to step it up in this series because he's not even he's not averaging the most on his team right now. Desmond Bane is averaging 23.7, and Morant is like at 22 right now for the series.
So yes and no. You got to realize that obviously they're going to guard him a lot more harder in the playoff series than the regular season. Sure. Regular season, he shot 49%, 34 from three. Those averages, unfortunately, not only will dip a little bit, but his shot attempts will actually go up as well.
True.
That's just when you're the one all-star in the team, that's just gonna happen. And remember, he's young; he's not actually used to that yet. So that's why this is gonna be a back and forth series.
I'm not saying he's not a beast because he actually got the first triple-double in
Memphis
Grizzlies history. But
I think he's still having a great series. But Desmond Bane's having a good series too.
But the triple-double was only like 11 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. Like he needs a little more points.
Hey,
I get it.
You got Pat Bev over there.
Yeah,
in your face all day.
You know what? That's a great
what I'm
point
saying.
right there. That's a great point.
Him.
Pat Bev has been balling out.
And when they got a switch, they'll definitely try to get that switch. And Anthony Edwards is locking down. Anthony Edwards has been locking down this series too. That's what I'm saying. They're making it difficult for John Morant to get into any rhythm or get comfortable. And that's why you got Desmond Bane getting 22. That's why you got in the Boston and Brooklyn series. That's why you got Bruce Brown dropping 20-point games.
30 points.
Because he's the one that has to step up because they're making it tough for the superstars to score.
And double teaming other guys sometimes. Sure.
But pretty much, like you said, Cat got to do something. He's pretty much 23.3 points in the 4 games on 52% shooting, but he was a -9.
I mean, he's been playing bad in the first few games, especially.
And that's what I'm saying. They found a way to not make him that effective.
I remember in 2 of these games in the series, he only had like 6 points and he had like 12 shots, and that's terrible. Like if you're gonna be the top guy in your team, you gotta one of the games he only shot like 6 times, so you gotta shoot it more than that. You can't be 1 for 6 for the game, score 4 points in one of the games. That's terrible.
And in those games where Cat was pretty much getting shut down, like you might say 22 points isn't shut down, but you lost 2 of those games, and your whole net rating is a -9. So while you was on the floor, while you dropped 22, y'all were losing when you were on the floor.
That's true. I mean, a lot of that is Valanciunas. So
And that's what I'm saying.
Valanciunas has been playing great this series. He got a few blocks on him too, especially that game that Cat played really bad. But Cap stepped it up one game too. Towns had like 30 and 10 in the last game that I saw, and they won that game. So I think that this is going to be a tough series for both these teams, because I really do think it comes down to like guard play versus the bigs.
Yeah, no, because at the end of the day, the next person who had to step up is basically D'Lo. Like I feel like for them to win this series, D'Lo has to step up. In those games where Cat was pretty much being held down, D'Lo dropped 31 points.
Yeah, he had to.
On like I think 56, 57 percent.
Great.
So
That's great.
He's the one that they deferred to, and I feel like for them to be competitive in this series and to pull out a win in this series, they would actually not only need Anthony Edwards. I feel like he has, I don't want to say step up, but he can't be your second best player for you to win.
Right.
It has to be D'Lo.
You want to be D'Lo.
It has to be him coming from the perimeter. It has to be getting someone saying like it has to be him. So they have to find a way to pretty much get him to get basically like 25 plus.
Yeah, I mean, if he can get that, I would like that. I think he can get around like 22 and 8. He needs to get 25, But if he can distribute like he's been doing pretty well in this series. And like you said, he had to step it up when Cat didn't play that well. But if him and Cat, play well together, they're very scary. And I just want to go on and ask you who you got for this series. I mean, it's a tough one to call, but I mean, I don't know about this one.
I feel like there's a better, deeper, better coach team with a better overall superstar. And in such a close series like this, I feel like you just have to look at those certain things when it comes down to who got the better who got the best player, who got the best coach.
So who you think is the best player in this series then?
Ja Morant.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think he's got the most potential.
And Jenkins is Ja Morant right now is the best player in the series.
You don't think Cat?
No, Ja Morant is better than Cat at this point.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? I would say we just said Ja Morant dropped 27 a game. Cat is average 24.
Right, but I mean, look at the
7
the
and
rebounds.
9. So yeah.
I mean, Cat's been doing it like for a longer period of time.
We're talking about someone who damn near took a 10-point hike.
For sure, year, most improved this year. I agree with that. So I mean,
better player, better coach, deeper team, and they've shown it because when the star player's not in and Jaren Jackson's not in, they still found ways to win games. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to go Grizzlies in 7.
Wow. Yeah, I mean in 7, and that's crazy because they're second seed. They haven't really been in the playoffs, too much. Obviously, last year
inexperience is gonna cause a couple mess ups.
Yeah, I mean they came in last year in the play-in, and then this year finally in the second as a second team. But overall, I don't know, man. This is gonna be crazy to sound like the way I'm gonna word this, but I think that the most talented player in this series is actually Cat. I think the one with most potential is definitely Morant. I think Morant is the type of player that can average triple doubles like Westbrook can. Get 25 points a game, 10 and 10 easy. He's that type of dude. But right now, in this point of their career, what I've seen Cat from the last 4 or 5 years, very consistent. Just the last part of the season, he hasn't been this year.
Right.
I think he's gonna show it this series. You saw he's been inconsistent again this series, but I think the last few games have shown that he's actually here to play, and he's not playing around no more. He really wants this for his city, and they already took one in Memphis, and that's scary. When you can take one in their home floor before you even come to your own home floor, that's how you know that you can win a series, man. And I think you had it right. I think that D'Lo might have to step it up. He needs to score, and if he does, I got Minnesota in 7. I think Minnesota's gonna upset the Grizzlies this year. That's what I got.
I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised. It's like I said, 2 versus 7 is might as well be 4 versus 5, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean
'cause
Memphis stepped it up the last part of the season. They moved up.
It's a very close. It's a very close series, and I wouldn't be too surprised if Minnesota does win. But I think that Memphis got the bigger dog.
I mean I think he's got the most potential as he could be the most talented player out of both of these guys. Out of like these guys, I just think that right now I think it's Cat's time right now. He's showing that he can work the post. Even though Valanciunas is playing him good, I mean the last few games that I've seen, yes, he's been inconsistent though. Like I said, first few games, even one of those games, he only had 4 points, which is very bad. He can't have that again. If he does, they're losing it. They're definitely gonna lose it. If he has one more game under 10 points, I don't see them winning the series.
Under 20.
Well, yeah.
If he has another 10-point game, they're losing the series.
Well, yeah. A 10-point game for sure. I think if even he gets like 19 and the other guys score or go off, then it might be something, but I definitely think under like 15 for sure, let's say. All right. Under 15, then yeah, they'll lose the series. But I still got this one as an upset. Minnesota.
Okay. That's what you got. All right.
Yeah.
Definitely, like I said, 2 versus 7, definitely a well fought series. So we'll definitely see what happens with that. But either way,
man, it's an interesting playoffs.
Yeah,
like,
I was about to say,
you see, like already,
whoever comes out of that series are going to be some dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll definitely see about that. Let's head over to the East. Start off with the 4 versus 5 over there.
Yep.
Philly versus Toronto. Oof. Philly is 4th with 51-31 record. Toronto is 5th with a 48-34 record. Raptors actually won the series 3-1. But these are different teams we're talking about.
Of course, yeah. I mean, they didn't even have Harden.
Exactly. I think 3 of those games pretty much were without Harden, and without Ben Simmons. So it was just Embiid by himself. And obviously, with all teams, we had injuries and stuff.
Right.
But pretty much that does play a big picture on what those records look like.
Of course. And honestly, the Raptors, man, they were like on one of those teams just like the Grizzlies on the West. Nobody really saw them coming from the East, They had a lot of young guys. They got rid of obviously some of their veterans, like Kyle Lowry. He left for Miami, so they definitely came out of nowhere as well in the East.
No, for sure. And obviously we all knew what Philly was, what they are, and what they can do. It's kind of crazy because a couple years ago, if you put James Harden and Embiid on a team, a lot of people would probably have to argue which one's a better player. It's not an argument today.
Nah. We already know the best player on that team is Embiid, and maybe
hands down
one of the best players in the league right now is not one of the best. I think one of the top two or three maybe.
He's top 3. At the end of the day, when you got a big man who can shoot like that with the footwork he has, his footwork we haven't seen in 15 years.
For me, it's Giannis, Embiid, and KD. So between those 3, we can interchange them all we want. But I think those 3 guys could all be number 1, at like what they do.
No, for sure. 30 points. 30.6 points, 11.7 rebounds, 4.2 assists, and 1.5 blocks a game. There really isn't an answer for the man, honestly. Hit an amazing game winner that made no goddamn sense for a 7-foot center to win.
A 3-point,
it literally makes no sense for him to catch and shoot like that with 2 people in his face.
That's true. That's true.
And not only do they not, just no one have an answer for him. The Raptors literally have a history of defending him horribly.
Yeah,
they actually have. Now, it's not the same team at this point. It wasn't the same team when they lost to them a couple years ago when they had Kawhi, and it wasn't the same team when they had the Rose and Lowry.
But even when they had Kawhi,
all throughout that whole thing, they still couldn't stop Embiid.
Even when they had Kawhi, though, they had Marc Gasol on that team, didn't they? And he actually played him pretty well at that point. Like, he played decent.
Right.
But he had him crying after that 7th game, so...
No. Kawhi had him crying.
I know, he did with that little bounce of heaven.
With that shot.
I don't know.
Basically, Embiid has played 17 regular season games against the Raptors in his career.
He's
averaging 21 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists on 42% shooting.
That's crazy.
And most of those was before he was Embiid that we call him today.
I mean, if you look at him this year, he's way more dominant than any other year he's ever been.
Exactly.
In his career.
For this to be a competitive series, basically we have to see a whole lot out of Pascal Siakam.
For sure. He's got to turn into
he has to turn into a B Junior, basically, for them to win this series. And that's a problem because Embiid and company, because they usually use Tobias Harris. That is wild.
They don't understand it, but we understand.
We'll tell you. I'm explaining it.
Right.
Let me finish.
Calm down now. Calm down.
So Embiid and company just don't They actually do a well job guarding Siakam. He has a problem when he faces Embiid.
Right.
And they got other bodies to throw at him. Like I said, Tobias Harris. They're definitely gonna keep throwing long, lengthy bodies.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
In
I agree.
his one win over Toronto, that in his one win over Philly, that they actually faced a 14 where he did good. He had 37 points, 12 assists, 10 rebounds. Those
crazy.
are the type of games, unfortunately, we're going to have to consistently see from him this whole series to be able to see competitive. I know it's a 4 versus 5, but unlike the West, this was...
The top four in the East were very close this year, and they were all like off by like two games from 1-4 at the end of the season. So they were very close from 1-4.
But this was a team where they had no Ben Simmons, and then they just got Harden. Like, they basically just had him beat. So the fact that if they had either one playing more regularly, it would have been a different, different story.
Honestly, if they played all year, I could see them being a number 1 seed overall.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So for the East, it was a little between them and Brooklyn, between halftime players and injuries and trades. Like, their records don't actually show the talent. So while this is a 4 versus 5 matchup, and the Raptors won 3-1 throughout the series, it's by far clear that Philly is the better team.
Wow. Yeah. I totally agree. I can't say much about that. You're totally right. I mean, I think what you said is right. Pascal Siakam needs to turn into Embiid Jr. or like a Nikola Jokic Jr. He needs to like start
assists and everything.
Assists,
like
doing triple doubles. Like that's what he needs. I just see it like you said it. I think that they're way more talented. They have a way better pace of the ball.
Even with an inconsistent Harden, they're way more talented.
I don't even think he's the second best player anymore. Like
looks like he's inconsistent as fuck.
It looks like he's the third best player now. Maxey's turning into the second best player. He's shooting way better than Harden. He's got like a way better shot percentage right now, and obviously Embiid's shot percentage is through the roof, over almost 60% for this series.
And still, that Harden is better than any guard.
Right.
Toronto can give you.
I'm not saying that Harden doesn't give you a lot of promise too. He can pass the ball. He's definitely a good facilitator. Plays good with the pick and roll with Embiid as well. I think, like you said, Philadelphia is way more talented. I don't think the Raptors have a chance in hell, honestly. I just think that they got very lucky even winning a game against Philadelphia. I think this one is going to be over the next time we see him. And I think Embiid is going to go off again, and Philadelphia is going to move on. Maxey's he's been going off this whole series. Mm-hmm. He's been scoring over 20. Pretty much the last 20 games of the regular season, he scored over 20, 19 out of the 23 times. And obviously in this series he hasn't scored under 20. So I think that this is the team to beat right now in this series. And honestly, this first round, they look the most consistent to me. Philadelphia does. Even though Harden hasn't been playing well, everyone else around them has been playing very well. They're definitely one of the most consistent teams in the first round for me.
Second.
Okay, I know who you're gonna say first, but I mean, like I said, even though Toronto won one of these games, they got very lucky winning that game.
Yeah,
I think this could have been
and that was an off night by Embiid.
It was an off night, and even on an off night, he still scored 24 and 10.
They actually did a good job getting him off rhythm. But at the end of the day, when you got two of the league's top scorers at the free throw line on one team,
that's what I was just gonna say.
It's another issue where you're just not you can't defend them without fouling. You have no one who can defend them, and you're not gonna match their offensive potential. It's 100%. Just an issue.
So I seen a tweet that the Toronto Raptors put up, and they said, "Oh, if we didn't count the free throws, we would have won the last game 87-86." And I'm like, so what, you're going to just take off
all free throws?
Take off one totally important aspect of the game? What are you going to do? That's crazy. But I mean, for this series I got Philadelphia moving on, and I think they're going to move on in 5 games.
That's what you got?
Yeah,
Philly in 5?
That's me. Who you got? Philly in 5? Yeah, that's what I figured. I think they're just
Philly in 5.
The more talented team. Yeah. I think the Raptors are too young right now, but they're stepping it up. Scotty Barnes, congratulations on that. Rookie of the Year. Congrats.
That's a fact. That's pretty much like a clear cut, just as clear cut as we can get.
As we can get for a series.
Second.
Well, yeah, I think so.
I feel like that's the second and third most clear cut series. And I'll be honest, the most clear cut series we're about to talk about right now.
Okay.
And that's going back to the West. Golden State versus Denver. Clear cut as you can get.
I mean, the way that they've been playing has been incredible, and obviously they got back all their guys now. Curry didn't play the last part of the regular season. He's back now, so
And they found their way to making everything mesh. Golden State ended the season third seed, and they took a lot of hits with injuries, as well as people coming back. But they lost Draymond for a big portion. Clay came back towards the end of the season. Curry faced an injury towards the end of the season. So it's been a while trying to get them to mesh, but they still ended up in the third seed in the West. So
exactly, that's great.
Exactly.
And like we said, Memphis obviously stepped it up in the end of the year, and that's how they were able to move up past Golden State.
Exactly. Golden State was pretty much dumb and the Suns pretty much fighting for first for most of the year.
It was, yeah.
Until they got that Draymond injury, and then Memphis also got that jaw injury.
Yep.
But Memphis
then
found
Curry,
a way to win, and then Curry went out.
Yeah, right after that was the problem. And then they were getting back Clay, and he was starting as a 6-man, and then getting into the rotation,
trying to find a way to get all the boys pulling them into their mesh. Like now we even got Kuminga back in the building. So like it's a lot. It's just a lot.
And even speaking of 6-man, like we were talking about Scotty Barnes earlier. I mean not 6-man. We were talking about rookie of the year. But isn't Poole's second year or something right now? Right. He should have been.
Poole's like 3 years.
Oh, he should have been in the most improved category because we were just talking about the awards. I think he should have been in the most improved category.
But I think he lost his chance because he took such a big role last year. While we've seen the growth, his numbers don't show because he played a lot of minutes.
I mean, he stepped it up like over 17 points a game this year, and he was only at like 7 points a game last year.
Saying, like he definitely got obviously improved. But then we got another team on their hand that just had injuries that they couldn't come back from. Denver ended up the season 6, 48-34 record. Golden State was 53-29.
Yeah.
Once again, crazy because we're gonna talk about the regular season series where Denver won 3-1, but
they found a way to win. But
we all know, like we said, injuries. Now, mind you, Denver pretty much have been out without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. basically the whole year. So not only are they going into the playoffs without those two, they pretty much, I want to say they've already should have learned how to play without them two. They had almost a whole year.
Right.
The Warriors was a little different because it was one person, then another person, then when they both coming back, a third person, then
they had to figure out
exactly. So they still have yet to figure out that whole lineup. So Denver unfortunately don't get that same excuse because they
had a whole year to do it. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So that's how you end up.
Hey, but listen, they still made it.
6.
They still made it as 6, and they didn't have to go through the play-in. And for them just to have one All-Star in Jokic and get him at that 6th spot, that's huge.
And that's exactly why they're in the playoffs because you pretty much got someone who's already making a case for MVP repeat.
Yep.
With the averages of 27.1, 13.8, 7.9 assists. Pretty much just destroying them.
He's a monster.
Against the Warriors themselves, those 4 games that they played through, they won. He pretty much did exactly what it was just a little above average. 28 points, 15.8 boards, and 8.8 assists in those 4 games against the Warriors.
Almost a triple-double with 16 boards almost.
That's what I'm saying, 15.8 boards. Like, they don't have the big men.
No, they don't. And they were probably missing Wiseman the whole year.
And they were missing Draymond.
Yep, and Draymond.
During these matchups, they were definitely missing Draymond. So pretty much, like you said, Jokic has found a way to get those Nuggets a chance every given night, elevating the play of the teammates around him, pretty much making sure that him and his teammates can compete. Obviously,
24 triple doubles this year.
Exactly.
In the regular season.
We don't even have to go off about the one of a kind skills that big man offers when it comes to the passing game. It's actually have improvements in his rebounding game.
I mean, he has.
And that was one of his weaknesses.
I mean, he was averaging over 10, but now he's averaging 14
That's what I'm saying. That was one of his weaknesses, that and the fact that he's not the greatest defender, because he's not as mobile.
The big problem for me is he doesn't get the blocks, but I think he'll learn that with time possibly. He gets steals, though, as a big man, which is unlike a lot of other big men.
No, he does get steals. He does get steals, and he gets one of each.
I mean,
one of each a game. I'll be like from a
But I mean, like a guy like Jaren Jackson gets like 3 a game. A guy like Rudy Gobert gets like 2 a game.
Right.
If you want to like a defensive player, he gets around 2 a game. But still, that 1.5 steals compensates for me.
No, exactly, because he does get the ball loose.
But as far as this series, I mean, what do you think? I mean, obviously he's talented, but can he step it up and do what he did in a regular season? I mean, now they got Wiseman and they got Draymond back. Obviously, Curry's coming back too. he's back playing as a 6-man role coming into the rotation.
It's not even about Jokic. It's about everyone else around him, i.e. Gordon. Gordon is pretty much high flyer, dunker, knock down the jumper here and there.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, what is he really going to do? He's only giving you 15 points and 6 rebounds a game. You need someone on that team besides Jokic who's going to give you 20. Yep. I've been saying that for them throughout the whole season. That you can't trust nobody else on that team. No one can average over 14. You literally have Jokic. Literally, basically, you have no one to compete with for second spot. And I don't mean just Gordon. I mean everyone on that team can have that thought. As long as I get mine.
Yeah, so honestly, I thought that Monte Morris was going to be that guy, and he didn't step it up.
He basically was that guy, and he's been pretty much doing what he's supposed to do, but at the end of the day, like, it's supposed to be Gordon.
It should be Gordon. He should have been the one to step it up. When everyone else came out, he should have been the scorer.
When Michael Porter Jr. went down and Murray went down, Aaron Gordon should be the next one in line stepping up, and he only gave you 15 points a game this year.
I mean,
trash.
That's true.
For the money they're giving him,
they
just signed him too.
Yep,
that's
a 4-year contract too.
That's the year you give us. Talking about, I remember hearing the saying where he was just he said something about the security or just like, now I can focus on.
Yeah.
Because last year he was like basically fighting for spots with Michael Porter Jr.
Damn, yeah, I remember, because it was that power forward position.
Exactly, no one really knew what to do with both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I remember him saying something about like, all right, now that's over, like we could focus on playing ball, and like this is the ball you play.
Yeah,
like,
I agree. I think that he definitely needed to step it up this year. I don't think he has the confidence as a second player. I mean, he needs to be like a third option, like always. And I think that when they do have Murray and when they do have Michael Porter Jr., he's the fourth option at that point. So he's comfortable in that position.
Oh, he's very comfortable.
He can get you 10 and 10, but or 10 and 8, let's say.
Sick.
Easy. Well, no, as a guy like averaging like almost 30 minutes a game, he can get you. At that power forward position, easily get you to 10 and 8. That's all you need from him if you had those other two options.
Yeah.
Since Denver doesn't have those two options, you see what Golden State is doing. They got 3 guys right now. They got not just the Splash Brothers. They got the Splash Triplets now with Jordan Poole, with Klay Thompson, and Stephen Curry.
No, they're definitely doing their thing, and obviously they're playing great defense. Having Draymond back, like I said, I don't want to say he can lock down Jokic, but he can hold his own. More than hold his own. Like, he's already made a couple key plays in the series that's changed the momentum of games. Him versus Jokic.
Yeah.
Obviously that defensive ace. He just pretty much plays that safety type. The position just always pretty much. His teammates have the utmost confidence that they can do whatever they need to, because if they get blown by, Draymond Green's behind him.
Yeah, I mean, he's defensive player of the year, multiple defensive player of the year, right?
It's a different type of
defense, or
it's a different type of game when you can play like that. When you kind of know that you can take a couple chances, you can be a little bit more aggressive. You can force them to a specific direction when you have Draymond back there.
True.
So that that's pretty much good. Klay Thompson has been playing fantastic. Pretty much just doing what he's supposed to do.
Yep.
Coming back, he's averaging 20 points off of 30% from downtown.
Yep.
Can't go wrong with that. Obviously, he had a couple 30-point nights to end the season to make sure we knew that.
We know he's back.
Exactly.
We know the boy's back. That's what we needed to see. Honestly.
Like you said, the triplets now, the Splash Triplets. I'll be honest, Jordan Poole stepping into his own. I remember when they were talking about how that was such a trash pick when they picked him a couple years ago.
I didn't think it was. Like, once I saw him in the
we all knew they needed a backup point guard who can actually create something, not just shoot like create. And he's finally stepped into.
They needed another shooter because it didn't look like Wiggins was going to be that guy. Wiggins he's a good player, but he's not a shooter like the other guys.
I'm about to say, and even then he stepped up because he gave you 17 for 4 rebounds from 39 from 3 this year.
He definitely stepped up. 39 from 3 is
while
great.
Taking the defensive assignment of guarding the best player on each team.
That's true.
And he stepped up on the defensive end as well.
I just think that they needed more of a facilitator. Wiggins is great when he steps into that 3. He gets his shot when he's open. He's great at that. And obviously he's definitely stepped it up with that 3-point percentage. Amazing. But my man Poole can go inside just like Curry and get those layups.
Oh no,
He can move the ball
that
around everywhere.
And that's the thing.
And
A
he
lot of
plays
people
very well with
forget
them.
he's a point guard.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to consider him a shooting
Shooting
guard.
guard, but yeah, because he's tall. He's a tall point guard. You know.
He's a point guard.
6'4" or something like that. So
He creates. He dribble drives. He got good eyes. He can get assists, and obviously he can shoot the lights out. Like he's a point guard,
so,
and they found a perfect combination. They even unveiled. No one can decide on a name on this new Def lineup.
I mean,
where they got pretty much, the new small ball lineup with Dre at the 5, and either Wiggins or at some point Otto Porter Jr. And I can imagine they'll probably throw Kuminga in there as well at the 4.
Look at the depth that they have, man. Like
saying.
Otto Porter, Gary Payton Jr. We didn't even know that.
Gary Payton back there. They got Bielitsa.
And remember, like,
got a lot of wings and a lot of forwards. They just don't have that many bigs. They got Wiseman, Looney,
that's
and Dre.
True. That's what I was gonna say. Remember, they don't have the bigs, but Wiseman is back. He hasn't playing.
I just seen them freaking putting Otto Porter
at a 5.
Yeah,
he was putting at a 5 on Nicola.
Small,
you can't be doing
boy.
that. The thing is, Wiseman is coming back right now. Like, he just came back from his injury at the end of the year. He's only playing around 10 minutes a game right now. You got to give him a little bit of time. I think that they're gonna go past the first round. But once they get towards the second round, middle of the second round, I think you'll see his minutes increase. They might need him there. For me, I don't think they need him in this round.
They don't need him in this series, but next series, Bielitsa's not getting no minutes.
No, but look at the depth that they have, and they're still playing. Usually cut. In the playoffs, this is what I was gonna say. In the playoffs, all these teams they break it down from 10 to 8, or like 11 to 9. That's the amount of bench players or the amount of players that you play in a game. Right now, the Warriors got at least 10 players. At least with 11th guy.
That's what I'm saying.
There.
Like next round, once a couple people get more minutes, more time from injury, like Bielitsa's
gonna have to move back.
Otto Porter. Depending on how good Kuminga's playing, Otto Porter should get his minutes revoked. Because now at that point, you got Kuminga, Wiseman, Looney, and Dre.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll definitely see. But yeah, either way, Warriors.
They play an 11-game lineup in a few of these games in the playoffs, which is crazy. So they'll definitely
still coming out winning.
And I think that they're just playing incredible right now. And I think what you said previously a few minutes ago when we were talking about the last series, when I said that might be the most consistent team. I mean, right now they're probably the scariest team right now if you look at them.
So obviously, we got to remember that the Warriors are doing this against Jokic, Nuggets, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, if you talk about potential. That is the scariest team right now, potential wise, because we can see that they don't even have it figured out yet.
Not 100%, but they're getting there.
That's what I'm saying. And to see how they're getting when they're getting there, it's like, Jesus. So, once we see them really figure this out, it's literally about to be better than the 17-18 Warriors.
Ooh,
that was
crazy.
Beautiful basketball to watch.
That was one of the best regular season teams I've watched. Especially with Curry going off, them obviously only losing 11 games or 9 games this season. Sorry. So let me ask you the question: who you got in this one? Who you got in the series?
Easy.
How many games though?
Warriors in 5.
Okay, Warriors in 5. So for me, I think Denver might take one as well. I think they might take one. I might have them. I don't know. I think the Warriors could sweep them too. Damn, this is close.
I want to go for the sweep, but I'll tell you right now, I didn't pick no sweeps for the first round.
Wow, you didn't pick no sweeps?
I gave a couple gentlemen's.
Okay, so if you didn't give no sweeps, I'm giving the sweep to the Warriors. I'm gonna go off and give the sweep to the Warriors. I think
you're gonna give the sweep to the Warriors.
I think they're gonna. I'm gonna give them the sweep. Whatever happens though, it could be 4, it could be 5. I think the Warriors are one of the most talented teams right now in the playoffs. And I mean, speaking of talent, we can go off and talk about the next series too. The next series
we got Miami
crazy.
versus Atlanta, and that's a lot of talent on Miami's side. Because a lot of people didn't expect them to be the first seed in the East this year, and that's what we ended up having. Miami was first with 53-29 record.
Exactly.
Atlanta ended up sneaking in at 8th seed, going to the play-in tournament to do it.
Really sneaked in,
with 43-39 record. Horrendous.
Really?
Literally that East record for those bottom couple teams was just not good at all.
That's what I mean. Like it looked like the West kind of. The West playing teams kind of sneaked in that way too, because a lot of
they did.
The 9 and 10 actually got in there.
But I mean, that's what happens now when you open up. When you open
10
spots.
Seeds, yeah,
exactly. So pretty much, Regular season series, Heat won 3-1.
Yeah.
This is another one where, kind of like the Warriors, it's not necessarily like a sweep, but like it's a clear cut on who's a way better team.
Of course.
You know, I mean, 1 versus 8 is not.
We were
not,
just talking about depth, and Miami has one of the biggest depth,
and that's
like
the
most
issue.
depth.
Atlanta can only go as far as Trae Young can take them. That's a good thing, but that's also a bad thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So while the Heat won the series, pretty much most of those games they found a way to get Trae Young off his game.
Yep.
And no one else could pretty much step up. And that's pretty much what you have to do against a team like the Hawks. The Heat are one of the best defensive team in the whole league. Fourth best defensive rating in the league at 108.4, and also third in points allowed.
Yep.
Obviously led by Bam and Butler. That defense is smothering. They switch everything. They got lanky forwards and guards.
And Kyle Lowry's a good defender too.
The one guard that isn't lanky is a great defender.
He really is. He gets like a block a game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, great defender.
He gets one block a game.
Your center can guard 1 through 5 prolifically. So smothering defense, and they're one of the pretty much them in Boston are very few teams that are legit switch on goddamn everything.
Yeah, they
on
do
ball
like to switch.
or off
You're
ball,
right.
they will switch.
They go under the screens.
Everything.
They go under the screens.
Every single thing.
Yeah.
And I be getting so mad when I'm watching the games against the Boston. I'm like, that wasn't even a fucking screen.
Yeah.
He walked to his guy, literally just stood there for 2 seconds and cut. Like, you don't need to switch that. Like.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, because a guy like Bam he can guard your centers, but he can guard John Collins
too.
Like John Collins is the guy that hasn't really been stepping it up for Atlanta in this series. They needs to.
Well, that's the thing. And now Atlanta, obviously, they had the second best offense rating in the league, obviously led by Trae Young.
Trae Young is a lot of that.
So you got a lot of offense versus a lot of defense.
Yep.
But the issue with that is inconsistency. When you take out Trae Young, there's no one else who's going to step up. John Collins just pretty much that's their second best player. Clearly.
Clear cut. I mean, Gallinari is older right now, so you can't count on him to be consistently every night for you.
Exactly. He's only played not even 6 games since February because of an injury. And it was 4 up until the playoffs.
Right. I mean, they got young guys, though. They got guys like Horder. He's getting experience right now. He's playing good. He's had like a few 25-point games this year that he went off. And you need guys that can score threes for you like that. Another guy at the small forward position, because Bogdanovich is getting older too, and they got him on the bench.
They got that, and that's why they had the second best offense in the league.
Yeah.
Offensive rating in the league. But the issue is that they can't defend.
None
of those guys can't defend.
Plus, they don't have a big. Like, they don't have a real... I mean...
Capella just went down in the playing game.
Exactly.
So they literally don't have a big.
That's what I mean.
Capella just went down. John Collins just came back.
Exactly.
No one on the perimeter can guard. And at this point, who's going to step up scoring?
That's what they needed for the playoffs. Like, obviously, playing against Bam, you needed somebody like Capella, because they play very similar, very similar play down in the post, and that's going to obviously hold a lot of guys towards the post, so it's going to open up the floor for guys like Bogdanovich and Trae Young. I think that, they're going to have a tough time playing against Miami in the next few games if it gets to there. If Trae Young scores like 35 or 40, then maybe it can get to there. They're going to need to have a guy like Horder step up for me, especially because John Collins hasn't really been scoring that great in these games that we've been watching in the playoffs. Other than that, Jimmy's been playing amazing, almost 30 points a game this series. Who else? I mean, Kyle Lowry's been playing great. Been blocking Trae Young. He had a few blocks on Trae Young. Important block, that first game that they played. And I think that they're just, like you said, hold them down. They're able to rotate on their defense, switch, and that's great for them too. They're pretty much taking control of this series. They're the better defensive team, like you said, and I think they'll be able to defend Trae Young and win this series pretty easily. Honestly, I could just see this going on only 5 games as well. I think that they're gonna win it in 5.
That's what you got, Heat in 5.
I got Heat in 5. Yeah. What about you? Who you got in this one?
Heat in 5.
Heat in 5. Wow. Yeah. You don't trust Trae Young no more. He did take a step back though this year.
He did on everything, and I seen that coming, but no one else took a step up, and that's the problem.
That's what I thought. John Collins would take a step up
on his team,
yeah,
because you knew that he was gonna get a little bit less efficient. Every year someone's gonna find a little new trick to try to guard you. Teams are gonna put more pressure on everyone else around you, and no one else stepped up.
I thought it was gonna be Collins or Huerter.
At this point, DeAndre Hunter is the next best person that looks like it's gonna be.
He's young. I think Huerter can be there, but he's the three and D guy. You know, he does play good defense.
But that's why they need him desperately, because he's the only one who can guard worth a damn.
Yeah.
And they also need his points.
Yeah.
So I said for me, he's that next best person behind Collins who needs to solidify who he is on that team. But either way, Heat in 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too, man. And Miami's, like I said, definitely one of the deepest teams. Like, I mean, we'll see what happens in the next round, but for now, like, them and the Warriors are one of the deepest teams in the league for me.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And let's just go off to another deeper team, another tough matchup.
The one you want to talk about, I'm sure, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's time.
Second seed Boston Celtics versus 7th seed Brooklyn Nets. I actually had this as the conference finals.
Wow. Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, I did not think we were going to get matched up.
You know what's funny? I did too. Now that I think of it, I had this as the conference finals as well.
I did not think we were going to.
In the beginning of the season when
I
we
said,
predicted.
listen, I have us going to the conference finals, but then we're going to have to face someone like Brooklyn, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
So I'm not just going to say I'm changing my tune, because we've already seen a couple games. And anyone who's seen at least one or two games of the series already seen how this series is turning out so far.
Yeah.
I said as soon as playoffs were set, matchups were set, it was just locked in for me. I was all right. With a team like Brooklyn, that's about to be a hell of a first round, Celtics in 7.
Right.
None of my homeboys want to hear, like, bro, like, it's KD and Kyrie. I'm like, listen, I don't care.
want to hear it.
Celtics in 7. Like, we got the best defense in the league. Like, we holding it down.
That's right.
So
you did say that. I said Brooklyn in 7,
and that's
actually.
what I'm saying. And so, like, it's not me just say, me just talking because, all right, like, we took a game or two.
So now are you changing your tune, or are you still saying in 7? Or
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm changing my tune because it ain't in 7 anymore, boy.
Right, that's
why I don't want y'all to say, oh, he just overreacting. Like, no, I had us going 7 because I was like in my head, like, there's no way we're stopping KD and Kyrie multiple times each night. Like, one of them is about to go off. In at least 1 or 2 games, both of them are about to go off.
And they did. I mean, obviously we
found a way
we
found a way to minimize those shots that they would give us, and still come back on our own. So so Boston ended up second seed, 51-31, fantastic season. Started off so horrendous, and just turned it around so well.
After the All-Star break, they definitely turned it around.
Exactly. Brooklyn, same thing, was struggling with injuries. James Harden was not playing that well. Kyrie was playing halftime, and then they traded Harden
for Ben Simmons.
Haven't been able to play Ben Simmons yet. Did get Seth Curry in that because obviously your boy Harris been out for God knows how long.
Got Andre Drummond as well.
Exactly. So it's been ups and downs, but they ended up having to fight for a 7th seed spot in the play-in tournament.
Yep.
So basically it's a duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown versus Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
I mean, what a matchup of the late ages right there. And like I said, we both had this as an Eastern Conference Finals, but seeing this in the first round, it's a treat. But, I mean...
It pissed me off. Like, the first one was done, I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
I know. We thought it was going to be scary.
It was supposed to be Bucks. In my head, I wanted to see that right off jump. I was like, yes, give me that. I was like, give me a rematch. Because, because in my head, I'm like, all right, I want to see that rematch. And I'm not betting against us losing.
Yeah.
So, in my head, I was like, that's the only way we can see Giannis versus Durant is if we face the Bulls. And then we face the winner of that. Because if we get in second, we get Brooklyn, that means that we gonna face Giannis next.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Giannis next. That's true.
So I did want to see that. I did want to see that Brooklyn versus.
See, man, but you got this series. Like, I think you are a little bit overreacting on this series. I know we've seen a few games, but all these games have been close, very close, going down to the end. Obviously, one of them was a buzzer beat, almost a buzzer beater. You know, had 0.2 seconds left. But we can call it a buzzer beater by Tatum. You know. I think that what we've seen from Brooklyn is Kyrie going off, and obviously Boston's defending KD amazing. KD even one game or actually if you looked at broke down like the quarter like two of game two to quarter two of game three. That's pretty much like a one game 48-minute span. He had 6 points in that whole 48-minute span, and shot like 1 for 10. Terrible, terrible with free throws and stuff.
It's a mixture of him not being aggressive enough, and I can see that. And then the other mixer is we have been ridiculously good at guarding him.
Yeah,
and I did not see this coming.
You guys got great forwards, man.
I did not see this coming, and I knew we had the body types to guard him.
Brown is great,
but Tatum's been taking that.
He has, but they've been both switching back and forth. But
Tatum's the one that's been defensively shutting him down. Like the stats when he's being guarded by Tatum is ridiculous. And it's a scheme.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid zone with a mix of a 1-4. Basically, it's basically a 1-4, but you can't do it because you also got Kyrie. But anytime KD take at least 1 foot into the goddamn paint, or at least look like he's about to drive, he gets crashed into.
Yeah,
and at that point,
true. I mean, you got Horford in there too.
They force him to get the ball in his hand. The Celtics break up opponent's rhythm better than any single person, and that comes from the constant switching. Because even off the ball, we're not gonna let you get off the screen and just feel like you got the space to take a shot. Like it's constant in your face physical defense, and they're always giving you. They're like
very physical. Obviously, Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year.
Exactly. They pretty much led the league in defense efficiency against ISO. Whew. And now, mind you,
and that's what Brooklyn plays.
And I was just about to say, literally,
that's crazy.
But the Nets thrive in those type of situations because they got two of the best ISO players. But Boston makes sure that we have defenders, we have schemes, we will help, but big or small, you're getting left on an island, and you better come out on top.
Man, yeah,
we have very high standards for our defenders. You have to have good, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. That's why we were so trash in the beginning.
Kyrie's playing great in this game. In the series, he's averaging 35 points in the series.
Granted, the first thing that Kyrie do when he comes past that line at half court is call for a screen so he can get that switch because we switch everything.
Right. He doesn't want Marcus Smart on.
He does not, and that's smart. That's smart. You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
So it's two teams going back and forth on what they're doing. But
what you guys are doing is you guys are defending one guy great in KD. You're defending him amazing. Kyrie not as much, but what Brooklyn is not doing to y'all is they're not defending both of you guys. Tatum and Brown are going off. They can't find a way
to get anyone to stop.
They're both going off.
But the thing is, and I'll give it to Boston, and I'm obviously I'm just assuming, but it should be clear that your number one priority is stopping KD.
He's the best player on the planet.
That's what I'm saying. That's your number one priority. So if you literally stop KD and Kyrie drop 40 and you win by one,
beautiful.
Great.
You take it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you take
literally.
It. Yeah.
So yes, Kyrie is having a great series right now.
Yeah.
And obviously
39-pointer, 40-pointer. He definitely has. KD had a 4-point game. That's the problem. You can't have that. Definitely can't have that as a top guy. If this was like LeBron, we'd be talking about it that he shut down in that game. He got shut down, and KD definitely got shut down in this game. But I'm just saying that you're overreacting because it sounds to me that you're almost gonna call this a sweep by the Boston Celtics.
No.
So who you got for this one? This is interesting. Give me the analysis on who you got.
Well,
who you think's gonna win.
So that's the thing. I can't give it a sweep because at the end of the day, it's Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. You just can't. And they're definitely they're gonna give us issues. When you got two when I say the Celtics got the best defense, obviously we're great and we're doing a good job so far, but the Nets are heavily reliant on their two top scorers.
Yeah, they are. They are. But a guy like Bruce Brown can score at times. You saw him come up big, in one of the games.
And that's another thing. If Bruce Brown scored 40,
and
we win the game, it don't matter.
You can take it.
That's
take
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's why Kevin Durant's come on, most dynamic scorer in the NBA, 29 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists.
He needs to score,
shooting 51% and 38 from 3. Where are you?
He needs to score better.
And that's me as a Celtics fan. Because I'll be honest, while I'm loving this, I am staring at the fucking screen what's going on?
What's up with KD?
Literally, what's up with KD? Now, granted, and I will give him this sliver.
He's turning into...
Yes, we are physical as fuck. And I'll be honest, there's been a couple calls that I did see on KD. It was I ain't gonna say shit because it's
It's
my team.
my team.
But
Man.
you know, I go for. I see them get smacked, but it's the playoffs.
Damn.
It's the
Yeah,
playoffs.
you gotta
Everyone's more physical.
Everyone's getting certain
Jokic's
calls,
over there
calls.
getting smacked up by Draymond. It's the playoffs. Get more physical. Like, this is what we're here for.
Make shots too.
That's
you gotta
what I'm
make
saying.
Shots.
Make the shots.
I mean, it looks like KD is turning into playoff P. We gotta call him playoff KD.
Nah, we gotta come up with a better name for that.
I know.
And we will.
We will. Don't worry, we will. But
we will.
So anyways, who you got for this one then? I mean, you're saying it's not a sweep now. So who you got and how many games? Obviously, I know you're gonna pick Boston Celtics.
Yeah,
That's your squad.
I got Celtics in 5.
Wow.
I definitely give the Nets one game.
Wow, just one game.
They're top 10 in offensive efficiency.
Wow.
Obviously, they're scoring 122 points a game, so they're gonna find a way to get loose. But by the time they figure that out, we're gonna be back in the Garden.
Wow.
And it's gonna be too late.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be too late.
It's gonna be too late. You should have found that. You should have found that out for 2 games in Brooklyn. But if you let us go back home with a 3-1 lead,
3-1, yeah.
We're not losing.
It.
And even if we lose the first one at home, that's fine. We're not losing the second.
Yeah, see, I think it's gonna be closer. I think it's
6.
I think it's gonna be maybe 7. I think it's definitely gonna be 6.
They're about to win 3 in a row.
I think that it's definitely gonna be 6.
Okay.
I think the next they play. All right, you can go up, but listen, that first game was a buzzer beater. That second game was only a few points. Same with the third one. I think all these games are gonna be close. The way that they play each other, even in the regular season, they played each other very close, but they didn't have Kyrie really play in the beginning of the season. Brooklyn didn't. So obviously, with Bruce Brown playing pretty good right now, if KD can figure it out, you can see what they can do.
But if KD figures it out, then Bruce Brown goes back to 10 points a game.
That's fine with me. But if KD doesn't need to average 4, he needs to average 25 to 30. That's what KD needs to average in the series.
Listen, we allow the fewest possessions.
I honestly, I got the 7 games, but I think that you guys are still gonna win. Yeah, I still got Boston winning in Boston. I think that somehow though they're gonna turn it around and make it look like a series. Because it's been so close. Every game's been close, and honestly, what's his name? Brooklyn had a big lead in every game.
All these games were close, and who were we missing?
Big man Robert Williams, right?
Another defensive candidate of the year, second in the league in blocking, defensive anchor.
Yeah, but the Brooklyn doesn't really play a big ball anyways. Like they got Andre Drummond.
But now we got our lob to the basket threat back. We got our defensive anchor, or someone like obviously Horford is Horford.
Horford's been playing good in this series. What I'm saying.
Robert Williams is way faster. Like getting to the basket, getting back, being able to just jump out the roof. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that we took this much of a commanding lead without Robert Williams in the lineup.
That's true.
And even if Ben Simmons come back, it's different. Once again, Ben Simmons never played for this team before.
And it's going to be tough for him to get integrated.
Him coming back literally will just give us a series right there. I promise you, whatever game he come back in, we're winning.
I don't agree with that. Because I don't agree with that. I think even if it gets integrated, like I said, these games are going to be close.
Because think about it.
These games
KD hasn't found a way to get into his rhythm, get into his groove, and now you're going to take Ben Simmons and take the ball out KD.
It's still going to open up the floor more. It's definitely going to open up. It's going to get more defensive eyes towards Ben Simmons and not towards KD. I think it's going to be better for them. I just think that now...
I think it's too late to bring Ben Simmons in to make any difference.
Horford's been playing great, though, for you guys, and you guys are getting Robert Williams back for second round, supposedly, if you make it past the second...
No, he's back.
He didn't play last game though.
Yes, he did.
Did he play last game? Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
He just got back.
In the third game, he came back, and now he had a decent game. But one thing that just made it clear that we were missing is Tatum was coming off a screen. No, he did.
Yeah.
Tatum was coming off a screen, and I remember watching it. I thought it was like a weird little float jumper, but it was basically because Drummond took one step up and literally just one step in front of Robert Williams. Allowed Roberts to get a straight off the vert. That to me, I was like, we can't do that with Horford. We can't do that with these. That's something we've been missing, and on top of the defense. So literally, like him being back, and already the Celtics taking such a commanding lead. They're not losing the 3 in a row.
This is definitely the most. Not losing 3 in a row. I think that they could. I think the same way that this series could have went one way, they was so close that it could have went the other way. If Tatum didn't get that, one in the beginning of the series.
Think about it, Tatum. So two things.
It could have been a totally different series because they were playing in Boston, and that could have totally, devalued like how they were thinking.
So
It's
two
the
things
best
I want to say
team
about
in the
that, because a
league.
lot of things were said about that first game. One, Tatum also could have stood right there with 4 seconds left and
shot
watch Smart, what we all thought, take that three.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
As soon as Smart pump fake,
Mm-hmm.
no one else on the court moved but Tatum.
Yeah. Yeah. KD was looking around. He was looking
But
around.
even,
He was like,
but here's the thing.
he was like lost in
and here's why I
translation,
want to
my
bring
man.
that up, because while yes, Kyrie tried to get an arm on
Yep.
on Tatum,
Yep.
that pass could have easily went
To another guy, but you don't know if they would've made it.
not just another guy, to Kyrie's open man,
Marcus
Derek
Smart.
White,
Oh no, Derek
in the
White.
corner.
In the corner, yeah.
That's my point. Everyone's criticizing.
I get it, but
and that's my point. Everyone's criticizing KD.
There's no criticizing because
But listen,
Tatum made the best play.
And that's my whole point.
Tatum made the best play, yeah.
is the one that made the best play, because at the end of the day, Kyrie and KD both got caught lacking, because when Smart was cutting in, if he didn't pass it to Tatum, he could have just threw the ball straight to the corner to Kyrie's open man for three.
Tougher shot is the three instead of the layup. But I'd rather take a layup than a three.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because everyone on that court at that point was caught out of position except for Jason Tatum.
I think they
He's
definitely
the
got
only
caught
one
lacking.
who moved.
They definitely
That's what I'm
got
saying.
caught lacking.
The two people jumped for Brooklyn.
Yep.
At that point, they're out of the play. One person tried to step up.
True.
Two people left.
I get it.
KD and Kyrie.
Still.
Both of them froze.
I get it, but
then Kyrie reacted because obviously.
But
Tatum
we watched that whole game too, and that whole game, my man KD actually played pretty good that game. You know, I know the end of the game, he did have a costly turnover where it led you guys to be up, and then they were able to actually, go up on you guys before you guys got that buzzer beater. But still, I think he actually played good that game, and if he actually plays like that again, it's very close. These guys
it's gonna be a close series, but I just want to point that out because everyone didn't do nothing but Tatum. And it goes to show when we get in those clutch situations.
You guys got players that are aware and that they they do what they need to do.
And that's why we have been pulling out these wins.
Yeah, man. I mean,
Brooklyn
I agree
don't know what to do in tough waters.
I agree you guys are the most surprising team right now in these playoffs. Doing the most surprising thing. Not the most surprising team as far as like an underdog or something. But, nobody saw the series looking like at this point. I just see this as a long series. I think it's still going to go 7. I think that somehow, some way, just because the way these games
is you telling me we're about to lose 3 in a row.
Yeah, and I mean, you still got, a few in Brooklyn, so I do think that that's going to happen. You got,
We got 1 in Brooklyn, 2
no,
in TD Garden.
2 out of the next 3 in Brooklyn.
No.
You got Game 4, Game 6 in Brooklyn.
You're right.
Game 7 and Game 5 are in Boston for the first round.
Right.
So I think that
2 out of the next 3 are in Brooklyn. Yes, you're right.
So I just think that they need to win 1 in Boston Game 5, and if they get that momentum, seeing as how all these games were close, it's gonna come down to a Game 7 for me. But for that Game 7, I think that what we said earlier is gonna have to prove right. I think that Ben Simmons is not gonna be totally integrated. He's gonna be integrated, not totally.
I don't think he's playing the series.
But I think my man Jaylen Brown is gonna step it up in that Game 7. Watch for that.
I mean, at this point, they're taking turns.
They are. That's what I mean. I think it's like 1, 2, 1, 2,
and that's what they've been doing all season. And it's not a question of who's going off tonight. It's just whoever finds their rhythm and groove. We're both just doing it.
So you got Boston in 5.
I got Celtics in 5.
I got Boston in 7, but
and I find that so disrespectful.
I know you do, but listen, Brooklyn is you can't be disrespectful to Brooklyn. You can't be disrespectful
and that's
to Brooklyn.
why I said Celtics in 7 before.
Right.
We took a commanding lead. Yeah. That's why I said Celtics in 7.
Yeah.
But now I don't see us losing 3 in a row.
I get it. I
see us losing maybe 1.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe 2.
We'll see. I mean,
but that's it.
Also, we got to see what happens with Ben. So we'll see.
I ain't worried about Ben. Bro,
I know you're not.
I'm literally not even worried.
I know you're not. I know.
Please throw him out there.
We haven't seen him play
That's what I'm
since
saying.
he had one of the worst performances in the playoffs. So.
And then you want to throw him to save a series?
Listen.
Please, dude.
He's still a great player. You're telling me he's not a top 20 player in the NBA?
What I'm telling you is he's not a person to throw
You wouldn't
into
want
a
him on your
playoff.
team. If he was
No.
on Boston right now and he was out and coming in, you wouldn't want him to start.
Nope.
Stop it.
No.
Stop it. Now I need to walk off.
No. I promise you, if I literally have been
if Ben Simmons was on the team right now, but he didn't play all season for you guys, and you guys just wanted to integrate him, you would want him to start.
No. I wouldn't
Maybe
even
not start. Well, okay, maybe not start, but play. My bad. Play. Play in this series. Play in this series. For sure.
See, yes and no. Maybe because at a certain point, maybe you do because something so drastic has to change.
Yeah.
But for me, and what I think they're thinking, because they would already did it,
I think
it's not going to help.
Decisions. It's not up to them. It's Ben Simmons'
I mean,
decisions.
he's the one that told him a few weeks ago that he was...
I know. That's what I mean. It's his decision. Like, he could have been playing a long time ago when he just got on Brooklyn. He could have been playing for Philly for all we know.
I think Ben Simmons at this point, halfway into a series where you're getting scraped, when you haven't played for the team yet, is more harm than good.
More harm than good.
Way more harm than good.
Well, I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
And I don't even think we see him in a Brooklyn uniform this year.
Wow. Yeah. All right. We'll have to see that too.
Nah, he'll be back in New York by next week.
Bam. We'll see.
Just chilling.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You heard it.
We'll see.
So yeah, let's go a couple more series. I think we got two more.
Do it, yeah.
Next one's still in the East.
You can see that was a heated
yeah,
one
you know
it's
me.
His team. It's his
you
team.
know me. And at this point, I'll tell you right now, man, if we beat Brooklyn,
go off.
Ain't gonna
and we'll
stop
talk
us
about
now.
that. Let's talk about that a little bit later.
Right.
But go on to the next series real quick.
But another team that we're gonna have to pretty much run into before we get there is the winner of Milwaukee versus Chicago.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a good series. Chicago is 6th, 46 and 36.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee was 3rd, 51 and 31. Another great season.
Yeah.
I said it was going to be a great series. I lied. Bucks won the series 4-0 throughout the year.
In the regular season they did, but now it's going to be a good series because you got a big injury.
Yeah, Chris Middleton, MCL injury, is out for the least couple of weeks.
Not a couple of weeks. They already said
he's out for the season. Yeah,
he's out for the season. Plus, he could have that injury that Kawhi had. Could be out for the whole next season.
Yeah, so he's done. So yeah, that changes the tide. And then I'll be honest, that's going to stop them from reaching their full potential in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Not against the Bulls. Because the Bulls also don't got Lonzo Ball. They also got their own injuries. Like, it's going to be more competitive.
That's what I was going to say. That's why I don't think it's going to be a sweep like it was in the regular season.
Right. Yeah, definitely not going to be a sweep. But one of the very few teams to go perfect 4-0 against another team in the regular season.
Right.
2 of those games were decided by single digits. Another 2 were blowouts. Obviously, all 4 Buck wins.
Yep.
Pretty much the question is, how much can the Bucks... or how much can the Bulls make butts sweat, i.e. Giannis. You know, especially now that there is no Middleton, you really have to force someone else to step up. How much are you going to force the ball out of Giannis' hands? It's
got to be Drew Holiday,
and how much can you actually force the ball out of Giannis' hands?
No, he'll pass it, but Drew Holiday's got to step up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because of injuries, the Bulls, who started off so hot and were legit contenders, fortunately have taken a hit. Towards the end of the season. That's where they kind of pretty much fell down into 6th place.
They lost Alex Caruso as well towards the end of the season. It's going to be a big loss for them.
Lonzo's been gone since January.
Lonzo's been gone. And they were one of the best defensive teams.
That's what I'm saying. That was a big part of it. Their perimeter defense has been lacking now because of that. They even had Vucevic get injured, and they ended up having to get freaking... Mr. Kardashian.
Chris Middleton?
Yeah,
really?
no, Thompson.
Oh, Tristan Thompson, my bad.
Thompson.
I'm thinking about the old Kardashian. There's so many, they've been with so many ball players. But we can have a whole podcast
on
who
about basketball from him anymore. I randomly see him when someone posts about him and something to do with the Kardashians.
Right.
So like,
and
granted,
Chloe,
everything I know about the Kardashians, I was forced to learn against my will. I promise you.
Bro,
I never once wanted to look nothing up.
Bro, they've been around the league. That's all I can say.
Around the league. So
let's not talk about the curse actually, because now Devin Booker's injured. We can talk about that curse.
They said because obviously they had the injuries, but around that same time they signed Tristan Thompson.
Bro, we could do a whole podcast on who you got.
The Bulls have been. And someone said this in the comment. I just had to die and come like they're so right. Like in my head, I don't actually think. But I'm like, the timing, unfortunately, is spot on. As soon as they did get injuries, but as soon as they started signing Tristan, they pretty much went 8-15 and fell down to 6th place. And he's been playing horrible.
Yeah, I mean, he's not their. They need Patrick Williams on their team back. He was injured as well earlier in the season. I think he's starting to like play like little bits here and there. He was actually playing a lot better last year than he is this year. So he was their big guy. Obviously Vucevic as well.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But he was out most of the season.
That's what I'm
he's
saying.
back now.
He's back now.
He's not able to play against.
He's not the same.
The Milwaukee
they're
bigs,
they're too mobile for him. And unfortunately, the Bucks are just another side of the coin where they started off slow, and besides the Chris Middleton injury, they were just pretty much getting into what, like most people like in football, they be like, all right, last couple weeks of the season, you see teams start to get in the playoff form.
Yeah.
The Bucks were literally basically building up their playoff form, looking prolific towards the end of the season, looking good. And
they were number one for most of the season. Like I said, the 1 through 4 spots in the East, they were like 2 games away from each other.
But you gotta realize they were slow compared to their own standards.
For sure, last year
they were way better with the number 1 record and won the championship. Like compared to because they brought back the same exact team.
Pretty much.
And I remember a lot of us was like, what's going on with the Bucks? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
a lot of people are like, oh, is Giannis as good as he can get? Can Chris Middleton take a step up? Is Drew Holiday big 3?
They did lose Brook Lopez early in the season.
All these were the storylines in the beginning of the year because they weren't playing. Like, you just won a championship. We expect more out of you because now everyone's gunning for your head.
Everyone else got better though. So how much more can you expect when he's actually Giannis himself has gotten as a better player. He's trying new things, shooting threes. Like, yeah, some of his stats have lowered. But he's actually, shooting threes now, trying to get better at that. And you got guys like Drew Holiday that was been playing amazing. Even Middleton was stepping it up until he got injured. That's really going to be their issue in the playoffs is Middleton. Mm-hmm. Who's going to be their second guy? Like, Bobby Portis is not really a guy that can score 15 to 20. No. I mean, obviously, it's going to have to be Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is going to have to be the guy, but... Then who you got other than that? Like you're gonna have like Grayson Allen be out there. You're gonna have like
there really is no one, and that's the problem.
Covington or somebody like you know what I mean? Like these guys can score you 10, 15, but they're not.
No one can put the ball on the floor.
And yeah, they can get through Chicago because I don't think that Vucevic is a guy that can hold down in the middle. Like I said, they got Bobby Portis and they got Antetokounmpo. Both these guys.
Yeah, I would say for the 4 games that Giannis played against Chicago that they won. 26.8 points, 13.5 boards, 5 assists on 55% shooting. Mm-hmm. Him alone will get them through Chicago.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, but the question is, that's not going to win you a championship. Obviously, that's a next series question.
So who you got for this one, real quick? Who you got in how many games for Chicago versus Milwaukee?
Oh yeah, I definitely got Bucks in 6.
Okay, Bucks in 6. All right.
Yeah, because I'm gonna say Chicago wins
one more.
Yeah,
you know what?
Yeah. I'm gonna say Bucks in 6.
You know what? I actually think that this one's gonna go 5.
I want to go 5.
I thought once Middleton went down, I thought Chicago was gonna step it up.
He came out and destroyed them.
Exactly, and I saw what Giannis been doing.
He just came out and destroyed them.
And Portis has been playing good.
That's what those 4 games. Once again, 2 30-point games, and at least I think one of them
MVP
was
level.
A triple-double, and the other one was one very close to a triple-double.
Yep.
And against the Bulls, they literally can't do nothing against them.
I know. I just think he's going to out-rebound them, and it's going to be
another,
I think it's a 5 game.
DeMar DeRozan doing magical things, but unfortunately, Zach LaVine is not enough.
No, and he's not playing well, really. Not in this series. I think DeMar's playing
DeMar's playing amazing right now.
I mean, even Vucevic is playing good, but I mean, a guy
DeMar's
like Zach...
having career-high numbers. A lot of people are sleeping on him. Like, he's had an amazing year.
He should have... I think he was in the MVP conversation at one point in the season.
He was top 5 at one point.
At one point in the season, he was MVP.
Come on, 27.9, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists.
Right. He just needed to, step up those assists a little bit.
Or not even that. Well, when you had Lonzo, that's fine. Yeah. You just need someone else who can score because, yes, LaVine has showed himself to be an all-around player.
He is that guy, though. He can score 30, 40.
He's averaging 24.
Yeah, he can score 30,
but
40
in the playoffs, I feel like it's just he's not that guy.
No, especially because now he has to distribute.
It's his first time in the playoffs in his career.
Right, and now he has to take over that role that Lonzo takes because now he's distributed the ball. He's got 6 assists in this playoff series, and he's taking over that role, and he doesn't like that role.
And honestly, Zach is still playing through a knee injury.
Yeah, you're right about that.
I keep forgetting about that.
So yeah, so you got this one in 6. I got
it
this
in
one in
6.
5.
I want to say 5.
So yeah, I got Milwaukee in 5.
We'll go 5.
All right, we both got
Nah,
Milwaukee in
because
5.
now I
Then?
think about it, because like that, there is a reason why Zach kind of isn't playing that great. I never forget he isn't 100%.
Not 100%. Yeah.
And at this point, there really isn't no one else.
Yeah, nobody else.
Yeah, and like that dominant performance he just put in the last game, they're winning. They're winning next game.
Yeah. So going from one team in Milwaukee that has a big injury in Middleton, let's go into the last series with another team.
Big injury.
Phoenix with that injury in Booker. Phoenix versus, of course, New
Pelicans.
Orleans, who, honestly, New Orleans, a lot of people didn't think they were going to even make the playoffs because you had the Clippers in the play-in tournament. But then New Orleans came out of nowhere as a 10th seed, were able to overtake the Lakers as well.
They lost the 12 games in a row.
They
last team in the league.
They were 4-20 at one point, 4-21.
And they ended up doing 36-46. Don't seem that.
No,
great.
not 36-46. 36-14. They went the last 40 games or the last 50 games of the season.
Was it?
Yeah, 36-14. Since the All-Star break, they had the second best record in the league compared to the Boston Celtics. So they've been balling out since the All-Star break. Because remember, they started out terrible. They were like 4-21.
Oh yeah,
they were terrible.
But pretty much, unfortunately though, it might be a little bit more competitive without Devin Booker. But this is another 1 versus 8. They struggled their way to get there.
I don't think so. I disagree. But
you
go
think
ahead.
It's a very competitive series?
I think it's a totally different series than we see just because New Orleans is a totally different team than they were in the beginning of the season. Since the All-Star break, they got C.J. McCollum now. They're a totally different team. They've been balling out lately. Even they've been scoring 10 more points a game since the All-Star break. Obviously, with Booker, it's going to be tough for Phoenix to get points. So I think they're the ones with the issue.
So think about it. We got the best team in the league right now, in the Suns.
Yeah.
Obviously, a big point of that is Booker and Chris Paul, but we have to realize that it's definitely Chris Paul as well. Like, don't just think because of Booker's out that Chris Paul is still. And that's the thing. Chris Paul don't score because he don't want to.
He had 2 games in this series that he didn't even have a turnover. So I agree with you. He's the best point guard to me. Still in the league.
And when it comes down, so one thing about them, now mind you, I will give credit where credit's due. Like, C.J. McCollum changes the series a lot. It does.
Yeah.
It really does. But pretty much, the one thing about the Suns is they thrive in clutch situations. Clutch. And one thing I want to talk about.
That's a lot of that is coaching, man.
And a lot of that is CP3 and actually Booker. So basically, 42 of Phoenix games were decided in the clutch last 5 minutes with the 5-point or less game.
Oh, wow. This year?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
For the number 1 team in the league.
That seems like a lot.
That is a lot for the number 1 team in the league.
That's a lot. That seems a lot of close games.
Exactly. You would think it would be more blowouts for the number 1 team in the league. Yeah.
You would think so.
33-9 in those games.
That's pretty good closeouts, and they were able to close out a lot of games.
A lot.
That's good.
That is the best winning percentage since.
Warriors, I'm sure. 2017, 2018 Warriors, probably.
Exactly.
Yep. Figured.
Best since the Warriors when it comes to winning in the clutch. So pretty much that comes down to Chris Paul and Devin Booker.
For sure.
Only 20 players scored more points than Paul in the clutch this season, and he shot on 56% and 40 from 3 in those last 5 minutes. When the game on the line, he also had 34 assists in those last 5 minutes with only 6 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
So without Booker, if you can keep it close because they don't have Booker, he's still going to be the one to pull it out. And that's how I see it. So, yes, I think now it won't be complete blowouts and there'll be close games. Mm-hmm. But now if you got a close game, Chris Paul's still going to pull it out for me.
See, I don't think it's going to be Chris Paul. I think he's been playing amazing this series. He's been averaging double-double, of course. I think for me, in this series, it's going to have to be DeAndre Ayton if they want to win. Phoenix wants to win. He's been having a great series as well. I just think that Chris Paul is not...
Yeah, he's part of why they have the best offensive rating in the league.
For sure.
One of the best.
And he's going to have to step up in his point average because they're missing 25 points per game now in Booker. But on the other side, you got 2 guys that can score 25 points a game, in Brandon Ingram and in C.J. McCollum.
1.
Well, I mean...
Brandon Ingram's 25 is going to give so much inefficiency.
I can see what you're saying, but I mean, he's been averaging almost 27 this series, so, he's been pretty efficient this series. Not necessarily in the regular season. I agree with that. Right. Regular season he was 45%. This series he's over 55%. which is great. We were talking like a small percent or a small sample size, but this is a huge injury for me for Booker. I think even more than the Middleton, because I think that Milwaukee actually has guys that can actually step it up to play guys
They're
against the
used to
East.
playing more of a
Team style
like
ball.
Booker has not only is a big part of that role, 20 plus points a game, 5 and 5, with the clutchness.
Clutchness too,
The
and he
other half
takes
of that was Booker. He was literally averaging 20 something points on 50 something 56% shooting in those last 5 minutes.
and the best defender is usually defending Booker.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's gonna go to another guy. But I do think that obviously Phoenix is very talented. They have the Coach of the Year candidate. They have a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and Michael Bridges. So their defense is great as well. Obviously DeAndre Ayton is an amazing defender as well, getting blocks. I think for me, this is gonna be another one of these series where a lot of people are gonna go one way, even though the injury still happened. They're not gonna think there's gonna be too much. For me, this is a huge injury, and I got this as an upset alert. Upset. I got another upset in the playoffs. Yo, this is the first playoffs where I've actually picked two upsets, and I think that New Orleans, the way that they've been playing the last like 40, 50 games, you got to look at them as a totally different team. If you just took those last 50 games, they would literally be second in the NBA right now. Boston will be number one. New Orleans will be number two. The way that they've been able to move the ball around, like yeah, they got McCollum and yeah, they got Brandon Ingram, but Valanciunas has been huge for them, and Hayes. They got two bigs that are actually huge for them, and they were able to like slow down Ayton in one of these games. These games have been pretty close with Phoenix, so I think that now that Booker's out, if CP3 really steps it up, like you say, it may be a different tune. But I got this as a 7 game series, and I think New Orleans is gonna take it in that 7th game. Yeah, another
Ooh.
upset. What about you though? I know it's a crazy pick for me, but what about you?
I got
Who you
Suns
got?
in 6.
In 6.
Yeah,
Wow.
like I got it more competitive. They might win a game or two.
Okay.
But like I said, when it comes down to close games, if I got 5 minutes left in a game and you up by 5, if New Orleans is up by 5,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still gonna pick
Still
CP3.
gonna pick CP. Yeah.
That's just.
I would agree with you. It's just that like I said, the best defenders usually defending Booker. Now the best defender is gonna probably go over to CP3. And the best defender, I mean, it's probably gonna be either Jones or McCollum. McCollum's a decent defender, but Jones is probably a better defender than McCollum for them.
So okay, all right. So that's
that.
all 8 matchups.
Yeah.
First round.
Made our predictions.
We threw a couple predictions out there. Now let's predict next round's matchups so that way we can predict conference finals and then see who we got going to the finals and then see who we got winning.
Right, and we're gonna go pretty quick with the conference finals because we want to go into the Western
we're just gonna just say who we got, no details, no nothing.
Because of course we're gonna have another episode for the second round for you guys.
Exactly.
But of course, since I had Miami winning and I also had Philadelphia winning, I think the next round Miami and Philadelphia series I got
same.
Yeah, I got Philadelphia winning that one. I think just because the East was so close this whole year, Philadelphia is a better team now than Miami. They were all, away 2 games away from each other by the end of the season. I think that once they're able to get all these guys together, Philly got it. What about you?
Same. I think Harden finds a little bit more comfortability, a little less inconsistency by the time the second round rolls around. And once again, Bam Adebayo, you're not stopping Embiid.
Not stopping Embiid.
You're not even close to stopping Embiid. So yeah, definitely 76ers.
Right.
All right. I already know who the next one for me is. Definitely got Brooklyn losing to the Celtics, and I got the Bucks beating the
Chicago,
Bulls,
yep. So
and then us beating Giannis because Giannis ain't gonna be able to do it by himself.
Milwaukee versus Boston.
And we're gonna put that clamps on his ass. Because at the end of the day, for us, it's easier to guard him than it is to guard KD. We've been guarding Giannis better for a couple years because we've been closing in, guarding.
KD can shoot from 35.
Exactly, yeah. So I got Celtics making it. What about you?
I can't disagree right there. I got I obviously had Boston and Brooklyn going to 7. I still think Boston's going to win it. And Milwaukee's going to move on as well against Chicago. It'll be Milwaukee versus Boston. And I do think Boston's going to be able to take over that series just because they don't have a second guy. Milwaukee doesn't. And you guys are going to be able to interchange.
Mm-hmm.
Brown and Tatum are going to have to interchange and score. So I got Boston moving on in that one, and
So
then
Boston versus 76ers. Who you
yeah.
got in the Eastern Conference Finals?
So Eastern Conference Finals, obviously, I got Boston versus Philadelphia. Those are two teams that I had moving on in the conference finals, and that's going to be an interesting series because I do think that you know you guys with Robert Williams can defend Embiid at times. At times,
What you mean? We got the certified Embiid stopper.
I mean, not
on our
stopper.
team.
I can't say
No,
stopper.
no.
Listen, when a guy gets 20 and 10, it's not a stop. You can't. It's
When
not
he's
a stop.
averaging 30, it is.
Yeah,
Hey.
no, but that's what I mean. You're slowing him down. You're not stopping him. You know what I mean?
Horford, whatever he got in his power rate, he knows how to defend Embiid.
I agree with that, and that's why I think that you guys have a great chance against Philadelphia, and not just a great chance to defend Embiid, but also Harden with
Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart defending Harden, he's gonna have a tough time shooting.
And Marcus Smart been giving Harden the clamp since Houston days.
Yeah, he has. You're right. They always have that little back and forth.
No, because they hate each other because Marcus Smart is always in his face.
Always in his face. So honestly, I think that's gonna be a pretty good series, but it could be even a 7-game series. But I think Boston's gonna move on to the finals this year on the East. I think you're gonna be very happy about that.
Yes, sir.
Unless somehow Brooklyn comes out and wins it in 7 games.
I definitely had us in Brooklyn in the Eastern Conference Finals,
here, yeah.
and before I definitely I always bet with my team, but just realistically, I was like, okay, I think we can make it to the conference finals, and we're probably gonna end up having to face Brooklyn. And at that point, I was like, I have to see what. At that point, Kyrie wasn't back yet.
Yeah.
So in my head, I was like, I can't predict that yet. But now that we're in the playoffs, 100% getting Brooklyn out the way in the first round is just a blessing. Definitely will have no problem with Giannis and Middleton. And then obviously, I think we already know how to stop the 76ers and Embiid. So yeah, I definitely got the Boston Celtics going to the finals this year.
And you know what? If they do that, that might be one of the most impressive playoff runs that we've seen in Eastern Conference
Those
Finals.
three teams, that's what I'm
going
saying.
Through Brooklyn with KD, Kyrie.
A lot of teams will want to avoid them, but we had no choice.
You guys have to play everybody.
That's what I'm saying. For me, yes, it's not just me, but even as a Celtic, the confidence they have to feel if they beat Brooklyn.
That's
the rest of that East, we going through.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So
and honestly, in the beginning of the season, I also had Brooklyn and Boston in the Eastern Conference. I think I had Brooklyn winning it, moving on. But now that I'm seeing them in the first round, I do think that it's a totally different story. And if Boston is able to move on, then Boston's going to be able to move on the rest of the teams.
Yeah.
But
ain't gonna be easy, but
no, it's not gonna be easy.
We got the personnel to guard.
So we both got Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. So let's see if we both have the same Western Conference team, because that's gonna be more interesting for me. So who you got in the Western Conference Finals? The first series, obviously, we went through Phoenix and New Orleans and Dallas and Utah, but we had a different ending for Phoenix, New Orleans. We both had Dallas moving on.
Okay.
But I actually had New Orleans winning against Phoenix, and for me, it's gonna be New Orleans versus Dallas in the conference finals. And I think that's going to be a pretty decent series because Dallas is going to need a second guy to step it up again.
No. That's semifinals.
That's conference semifinals. Sorry, not conference finals. Yeah, conference semifinals will be the second round of the playoffs, of course. So yeah, Phoenix versus Dallas, New Orleans versus Dallas will be my next series. And honestly, I think that Dallas is going to be able to come out somehow and win it with Doncic coming out looking like a MVP type of player. I think he'll be able to come out and step it up. For that one.
Okay.
So what about you for a conference semifinals?
I got Phoenix versus Dallas.
Yep. You think that might be an upset for them?
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one to choose from because obviously Booker, Luka probably be 100% then. But who the hell is gonna guard Luka? Cameron Payne is not the answer.
No, I don't think Brandon Ingram is either.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that yet.
And I don't know if you guys. Wait, I don't even know if I made my pick, but my pick was gonna be Dallas. I got Dallas moving on from the New Orleans versus Dallas one for me. For you, Phoenix versus Dallas, who you got?
That Booker injury is such a wrench. You know what? I really, really I remember hating myself last year because I went against them every single time, and they kept winning every time. I was like, they're not going to win. They're not going to win. I'm going to go with Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
Because I think that they have a better team. They have a deep team. Dallas got a deep team, but, Phoenix Suns have been having role players overplaying their roles for almost 2 years now. to the point where you gotta like, okay, I think that's who he is now.
Yeah.
Like
I think
that's who
DeAndre
Bridges
definitely
is.
stepped it up
That's
too.
who DeAndre is.
He
Crowder is still that anchor.
Mhm.
Cameron Payne stepping up. Like
True,
yeah,
true. I
I'm
think
gonna go
that-
with the Sun, and that's all without Booker.
For me, I just think that Dallas is going to be able to get
Okay.
shooters. They're going to be able to shoot.
Yeah. That's no.
And,
with Luka coming back, that's
yeah.
a dangerous series.
So I got as one of my teams Dallas in the Western Conference Finals, and you got Phoenix in the Western Conference. For the next ones, we both had Golden State winning their series, and we both had Memphis. You had Memphis
You
winning,
had Minnesota.
and I had Minnesota. So I got Golden State versus Minnesota. I just don't think that Minnesota is going to be able to match up well with Golden State.
They don't
I think
have the guards.
they don't, and honestly, D'Lo. They got rid of him for a reason in Golden State, and Wiggins is going to be very happy to play in Minnesota. He might step it up in that series.
Him or Edwards down.
So I got Golden State moving on to the Western Conference Finals. So what about you, since you got Golden State versus Memphis?
Golden State versus Memphis. No one on Memphis can compete with Golden State. Like at this point, I definitely, obviously, Golden State is third.
Right.
But it's just like we said, seeing that team right now and seeing all them players playing together is just scary.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's gonna be hard to bet against them, and definitely not gonna. It's not gonna be hard until the conference finals. Yeah. So right now, Memphis isn't a hard choice, but now we go on to the conference finals.
The finals, the Western Conference Finals. I got Dallas versus Golden State.
And
I just
got
think
Suns versus Golden State.
I think there's gonna be a crazy offensive matchup, but I still think that Golden State is just on another level. In the beginning of the season, I actually had this as Golden State versus the LA Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. I did think that Kawhi was going to come back by now, and they were going to play together. Obviously, they didn't even play well in the play-in tournament somehow, some way. They got out of it, but that's for another day, another talk. I just think that Golden State is too talented right now, and they're going to move on to the finals. What about you, though? For Western Conference Finals, you got...
Same.
Yeah?
Phoenix versus... compete. Phoenix versus Golden State. But right now, it's just... I only see one team stopping the Golden State Warriors.
So, I mean, you know what? I thought it was going to be different, but it looks like we both had the same finals. Golden State versus Boston. But let me guess, you're going to pick Boston, right, of course.
Well, here's my thing. This has been... So, obviously, it's not the same team. But a lot of people got to realize a couple of years ago, most teams... Well, what, about 9 years ago now at this point, 7 to 9 years ago, most teams decided to start to gear their team for one specific purpose.
To beat the Warriors. Yeah.
And we were one of the teams that were always the best suited.
You guys always played good.
We always played good against the Warriors regular season. We never got a chance to face them in the playoff. But we always had the personnel, the defensive schemes, and the type of team that always played well against the Warriors. Mind you, not the same Warriors. They don't got KD, blah, blah, blah. But it's still sort of the same Warriors. And at the end of the day, it's still, especially bringing back Horford.
I don't think it's the same Warriors. Not with Poole anymore. But...
No, right. But it's still another
version of that same.
Come on, we're talking about another names for the new
another version of that same
lineup.
Style.
Exactly.
The same style of ball.
We also still have the same style.
Right.
Offensively, we switched it up because Brad Stevens isn't the coach, and we moved to giving the Jays the ball more.
I think defensively, you guys stepped it up more. Honestly, because Brad Stevens was good for you guys' offense. Like, he was able to turn...
I thought the opposite.
Well, no, but think about it. He turned Jason Tatum from a 13-point scorer to a 20-point scorer. Same with Brown. He turned him from, like, a 12-point scorer to 20.
But you got to remember, both of them had a dip. And that was because he kept putting the ball in freaking Kyrie Irving and Kemba Walker's hands.
Yeah, a dip, but, like...
that was his scheme. He wanted the high pick and roll coming off the three-point line.
He was able to get two wings... from like a very low scoring potential to obviously almost over 25 points a game each.
Oh yeah, but his calling card was and always has been defense, and that's the reason why I was so upset as a Celtics fan because when we started off the season, I was like, the one thing we weren't supposed to get worse at was freaking defense. And what's going on? We was one of the worst defensive teams the first 20 games. And I was like, that was the annoying part because that's what we were supposed to be. Right. So. Literally, not only will I be ecstatic as a Celtics fan, I want
you want to see the
Celtics versus Warriors.
That's gonna be.
I have been waiting for 5 years because I thought we were going to get that in 2018 when LeBron beat us. And in that year, now mind you, the Warriors and KD still would have beat the Celtics, but we would have not got no fucking swept. like
Nah, it would've been
LeBron did.
sweet.
It would
Yeah, I
have been
remember
a
that.
decent
Yeah.
series
That's
because
true.
we
Yeah,
were
yeah,
more well put together for that team.
That's true.
And
And
I wanted that so much. So
And
I
you know
want
what I'm
that.
going to be happy to see? The defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, versus the most incredible offensive player that we've ever seen in the game. Well, let's say an offensive shooter that we've seen in the game in Curry. So that's going to be interesting to watch for me. So I would say, honestly, I think the Golden State is just too much this year. They're showing off with Clay coming back. They got Poole now. Even with Wiseman coming back in the playoffs and Draymond came back. I think they're too much for anybody. And I would have this as a 7-game series.
Same.
Very close. But I got Warriors. I know
got
that you're going to
Celtics.
pick Celtics. But for me, I could see it going very close either way. Like, this is going to be one of those series that I think we both think that in a 7th game is going to be close.
No, so like, all right, on paper, Brooklyn versus Celtics was supposed to be a 6-7 game series on Brooklyn side. On paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously a lot of series start to
True.
not look the same once the games play.
True.
There is no way that this finishes in less than 7. Warriors versus Celtics is really about to be a well-coached, well-fought, physical matchup, offense versus defense.
That's
like
true.
It's going to be a great matchup if it happens. And the only problem now, truthfully, like the only issue I have left in these playoffs is honestly trying to find a way to raise about $25,000 so I can get me a ticket to the finals.
Trying to watch the finals.
That's the only thing. I need to get to Boston.
We'll see.
So I'm talking about I need to be on the sidelines with my Tatum jersey on next to Deuce. So whenever Tatum hits a 3,
all right, Tatum, if you're listening,
could do this, right? And then someone could take an iconic photo with me in the background.
All right, Tatum, if you're listening, hook this man up, man. This man wants to see you in the finals.
Y'all make sure Deuce gets his snacks.
Right.
Don't get hit by no balls. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be throwing up the signs for you. Come on,
give it
G.
to him. But
Come on,
that's
G.
a great prediction from both. I think we both got the same finals picks, but we'll see what happens.
Oh,
Obviously,
yes.
that's a while,
Long ways
away because we're still in the first round. But we love to make our predictions, so then you guys can let us know if we're right or wrong.
Let us know who you got.
Exactly. We want to see who you guys got. But thank you guys for listening to this episode of the first round of the NBA playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys want to watch us, make sure you check us out on YouTube or on our social media pages. If you want to listen to us, check us out wherever you get your podcasts.
Exactly. We love fan interaction. We love content, especially with the playoffs. We got multiple games every day, man. Let us know who you got. We're gonna take these series game by game. Get into the next round, and obviously we're still here for NFL, UFC, boxing content. So
we got a lot more sports coming for you guys.
That's what we're here for.
And we'll get you guys with a lot more coverage of these NBA playoffs on the next episode. But thank you guys for watching this episode of Who You Got with
MELO
and RADO. We'll see you guys next time, y'all.
Peace.